All right, everybody, welcome on in. Episode 48 of the Talking Friars podcast. I'm your host, Ben Fadden, here today, coming to you after a trade deadline that I don't think many of us were expecting. I don't know if it's in a good way. I don't know if it's in a bad way, but it's something that we weren't expecting because the Padres, their biggest need going into this trade deadline was starting pitching, and they didn't acquire a single starting pitcher. As I'm doing this right now, 37 minutes past the deadline, they have not acquired a starting pitcher. And I think that's an issue. And it's something, especially with AJ Preller as the general manager, that's not something that I was expecting to say coming here after the trade deadline and saying that the Padres had not gone and got a starting pitcher. And that didn't happen. So let's get to it right now. I'm going to grade the Padres deadline, what they did, what they didn't do, obviously, starting with the starting pitching. Some of the moves they did do were a little confusing, including the only deal that they made as of now, the only deal that they made on trade deadline day. So let's get to it. Then I'll give you what I think the Padres deserve to be graded here. So first off, just a timeline. It's going to go from earliest of when it happened to right until the deadline in moves that were related to the Padres. There has a lot of moves around the league. This was the best trade deadline probably in my life that I can remember. Anthony Rizzo, Joey Gallo going to the Yankees. Baez went to the New York Mets along with Trevor Williams. Chris Bryant went to the Giants. Scherzer and Turner to the Dodgers. Jorge Soler recently went to the Atlanta Braves. Red Sox got Kyle Schwarber. Blue Jays got Jose Barrios. Rays got Nelson Cruz earlier this week. Who else am I forgetting? The Phillies got Ian Kennedy and Kyle Gibson. A lot of movement, a lot of stars, and they essentially all got traded except Trevor Story, which was definitely weird because Trevor Story should not be going back to Colorado. But anyway, let's get back to what I was talking about. Moves that had direct, probably correlation with the Padres. They involved the Padres somehow, whether it's the division or the Padres themselves or players that they could have been on that they didn't get in on. So here's this. So timeline. Last Sunday, the Padres acquired Adam Frazier. This was like their Chris Bryant addition, like the Giants made. All-star second baseman, started in the All-Star game at second base. Tremendous year for the Pirates. Another Jake Cronenworth. This trade for the Padres deserved an A because this is a trade that no one expected coming. AJ Preller in the front office made it, and it makes the Padres a lot better, I think. He's not the big flashy name that Chris Bryant is, so fans might be like, Adam Frazier's Adam Frazier, but he's not a Chris Bryant player. And I would argue that he is, not power-wise, but he can play multiple positions. He hits for average. He's probably a better, contact hitter than Bryant is. So I give that move an A. It obviously allows for less playing time for Eric Hosmer. When lefties are on the mound, Frazier would play second, Cronenworth plays first. When righties on their mound, it's less playing time for Will Myers. And Hosmer and Myers are the two guys that are eating up a lot of money, and they haven't been performing up to their expectations. And so this move allows the Padres to have a bona fide, leadoff hitter at the top of the order in front of Tatis, Cronenworth, Manny, Hosmer when there's righty on the mound, Grisham, Pham, Caratini, or Nola, then the pitcher. It extends their lineup, and probably more than not, you get a guy on base for Tatis. And Tatis has hit a lot of solo homers this year. Frazier gets on base. Now that's 2 runs, double the runs that Tatis usually is hitting homers with. So I give that move an A for Preller. But again, at the end, I will give a full grade report for in all what the Padres did, considering the circumstances. Then on Thursday, the Padres, during the Padre-Rocky game, the Padres acquired Daniel Hudson from the Washington Nationals. It was made official minutes after the game, after the Padres won that game. Series opener. We'll have a series recap episode on Sunday. Padres win this behind a big performance from Joe Musgrove. But anyway, that deal was announced after the game. number 9 prospect Mason Thompson and shortstop Jordy Barley went to the Washington Nationals in this deal. Mason Thompson's a good pitcher. Seemed like he could have been a bullpen option at some point this year. He briefly was in the majors for the Padres for 4 games. I think he could have been some kind of bullpen option next year as well. Jordy Barley, he kind of reminds me of Trey Turner when the Padres traded him. You don't know much about him. He was in low A, had only 8 homers this year, but he had 33 stolen bases in 2021. So he's a shortstop, reminds me of a Trey Turner-like guy, speedy. You're not going to see a ton of power from him. But with that said, I think the Nationals are getting a good shortstop that now they're going to be probably stacking a lot of shortstops up because they don't have Trey Turner anymore. So there's that. Obviously, the Dodgers acquired Scherzer and Trey Turner from Washington. They got Danny Duffy from Kansas City. Before I get to that, though, I did want to say about Daniel Hudson, I give that move an A. I said that the big main needs for the Padres going into this deadline was pitching, the starting rotation, and the bullpen. And they got the bullpen, done. They got Daniel Hudson. He's having a career year, 2.20 ERA. He's pitched in the postseason, so he has postseason experience. I think this is a good move. Mark Melancon has been used a lot this year. He's getting up there in age. Daniel Hudson can help some of those late game situations, help close games if Melancon can't go, if he's gone back-to-back days and the Padres don't want to do that 3rd straight day like they did during that Miami series. He can go. He can close. He can be an 8th inning guy. He can be, I think he'll slot in as the 7th inning guy because I really like Pomerantz as that 8th inning guy. But so you have a righty in the 7th, a lefty in the 8th, another righty in the 9th. So I think Melancon is obviously still going to be the closer, but I think it helps not tax the bullpen as much. Hudson is having a career year. They didn't give up a ton for him. Obviously, they have a shortstop that's going to be here for the next 13 years after this year. So I think that, they gave up what they had to give up, and in turn, they get a good bullpen arm that will definitely be a contributor, hopefully down the line in the postseason and in this pennant race. As for, the second bullpen addition, they did not make a physical bullpen addition, but Matt Strahm is coming back. So I think that's going to help. I think that was a trade deadline addition, in itself. I think Dinelson Lamet, if he stays healthy, and that's a big if, that could be a deadline addition as well. I think you see him more in the bullpen than the rotation just because of health. And you're not going to want to keep pushing him in these games that are now mattering the most. So I think that you could see a Weathers-Lamet piggyback situation, or a Paddock Weathers or Lamet, one of the combination between those 3 guys piggybacking one another, and Lamet, I think would work better out of the bullpen just for health reasons. Getting back to the Dodgers acquiring Scherzer and Turner, I really don't want to talk about this very much anymore. I did a whole, half-hour reaction on this yesterday on episode 47. You can go look at that on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever, for my full emotional, immediate reaction to that. It sucked. I'll touch on it a little bit, based on, my takeaways, grading what the Padres did. But as for just the move, as we're going through a timeline of moves that, affected the Padres, I don't want to talk about that because I did a whole nother episode on it. So that deal did become official before the deadline. John Heyman tweeted that it wasn't official earlier this morning. Padres were still keeping tabs on that just in case. And maybe they were spending too much dang attention on that because they didn't make any starting pitching moves. But moving up to other moves, the Blue Jays acquired Jose Barrios today for Simeon Woods Richardson and Austin Martin. Jose Barrios was one of the big names. That was probably the biggest name the Padres had interest in starting pitching wise, other than Max Scherzer, when it seemed like Scherzer had fell through the cracks and he was going to the Dodgers. Seemed like Preller would turn his attention now to Jose Barrios, but I get fans are going to be frustrated with that. But, I'm not too mad about not getting Barrios. He'd clog up the rotation next year. I'm not trying to make it as a negative. Berríos is a great pitcher, but more so that I'm not as disappointed in not having Berríos, more so because of the return that the Blue Jays got. I mean, holy cow. They got a big return for a year and 2 months of Jose Berríos. Two of the Blue Jays' top 5 prospects, and the big headliner is Austin Martin. He was picked like 5th, 6th overall in last year's draft out of Vanderbilt. I thought he could go top 3. He slid down. He can play center field. I know the Twins still have Buxton, but he can play center. If they don't get an extension done, he can play short. He can play second base. He's a lot of options for Austin Martin. He played in the futures game. So that was a big return that the Twins got for that Berríos deal. And I'm glad that the Padres did not have to do that. That's pretty much, the same as, the Blue Jays deal, that same return that they had to give the Minnesota. The Minnesota return probably would have been us having to give up a Robert Hassel III or a CJ Abrams type guy or a Gore, someone like that, because he was literally one of their top 5 prospects, both him and Richardson. So huge return. I'm not mad that the Padres didn't get him because that means we get to keep our top guys. And Berríos isn't Max Scherzer. He's not a guy that you should go out and get. And they probably shouldn't even have gone out and, used Campusano or Hassel or guys like that to give to the Nats for Scherzer because it's not guaranteed he signs an extension. So I'm just not that mad about losing on Berríos. Now, they also lost on Kyle Gibson, who was the next guy on down the line after Scherzer, after Berríos. Gibson was that next guy that I thought Preller was going to return to. He's friends with John Daniels and the Rangers, a lot of connections there. He was in on Gallo, so I'm sure that Kyle Gibson's name got brought up at some point as well, just naturally in those conversations. And the Padres missed out on him. The Phillies got him, props to them. They also get Ian Kennedy, which I thought was a good possible addition before the Padres got Daniel Hudson. So I'm not mad about not getting Kennedy. He's a bullpen piece. They now they have a big 3 with Hudson, Melanson, and Pomerantz. So I'm not mad about Kennedy, but I thought Kyle Gibson, maybe the Texas was selling high. Padres didn't want to give up that much. So I can understand why Preller didn't do it. But at the same time, I thought Kyle Gibson was going to be a Padre if Berríos didn't come here. That obviously didn't happen. If Scherzer didn't come here, that didn't happen. If John Gray didn't come here, obviously that didn't happen. It seems like Colorado, who's probably the losers of this deadline, they lost out on the opportunity of trading Story to a team that I think they would have gotten some haul with, considering what the Cubs got for Baez with Pete Crow Armstrong, their top outfield prospect. They got him. The returns that the Twins got for Berríos. I mean, big returns that happened that I don't think the Rockies cashed in on. But back to John Gray. He said prior to the game yesterday, that he didn't want to come to a super team and pointed to the Padres dugout. I'm sorry, we're not a super team. I know it's great that we have the best shortstop in baseball. We have arguably the best third baseman in baseball, but we have holes in the rotation. We have a first baseman and a right fielder making $20 million a year who aren't living up to it. We don't have a bunch of superstars like the Dodgers on the level that the Dodgers have. We have a few superstars. We have Darvish, we have Tatis, we have Machado, but we don't have Scherzer, Bellinger, Betts, Muncy, Chris Taylor, who was another all-star as well, Kershaw, Buehler, used to have Bauer, Jansen, all these big names. We don't have that. So we're not a super team. So sorry, John Gray, that didn't make sense. But you want to stay in Colorado and keep losing, go ahead. So John Gray was not going to be a possibility. So that's where it really stung. San Diego did get before the deadline a move that I iterated before here earlier in this podcast. That was surprising. Jake Marisnick, an outfielder. He's a bench outfielder. I was listening to Extra 1360. Jim Russell said that he never heard of Marisnick. He played for the Astros. He's played for the Cubs. He's played for the Mets. What you're going to get out of him is not hitting. It's like a Jorge Mateo, but a bigger Jorge Mateo, probably a more physical Jorge Mateo. A little bit better hitter, I would say. I know he's hitting in the low 200s and batting average wise, but the real reason the Padres got him was for defensive reasons, I think. I think it's if you have Frazier playing second and you want to get you'd rather have a better defensive option in center, you can move Grisham over to right or left. You don't want Pham in the game defensively, then that's where you put Marisnick in. But that's all he's going to be. He's a bench player. You're not going to be expecting much from him offensively. He's a bench late inning defensive replacement. Padres give up Anderson Espinoza. I saw people on Twitter were kind of mad about that because of how hyped he was when he came over from Boston, I believe. But I'm not going to get too mad about that because what are we dealing with? This isn't a Mackenzie Gore who I believe still has something in there. Espinoza hasn't been able to be healthy. Yeah, there's probably still some upside you can see, and obviously the Cubs saw that. But Marisnick, you're not going to get a huge return for, so they just went for the upside with Espinoza, and that's what they got. I'm not too mad about losing Anderson Espinoza because he just hasn't done anything. He's been here for multiple years in the minor league system. He hasn't gotten high in the minor league system. Preller knows his prospects. He keeps getting hurt, so he was not a guarantee to be in the team's major league plans. So I'm not going to get too frustrated with that. The Padres get a late inning defensive replacement. So will that be huge? Maybe come, late in the season, perhaps. Will he make a Mookie Betts walk-off catch like Mookie made against the Padres earlier this year? Maybe. He's a good defensive center fielder, outfielder. He can play the corners probably. So I think it's a good move just for depth. That's all it is. And I don't see Jorge Mateo staying with the team that much longer. I was surprised that they didn't trade him. I get they love his speed, I think, but Marisnick's pretty fast as well. And Marisnick is a better overall player than Mateo is. Simple as that. So that's the Marisnick move. That was very surprising. Now, moving to grades. I got AJ Preller, my shirt here today. I don't think he stepped up really. As for today, he definitely just didn't feel like he stepped up. He speaks to the media in a little over an hour at 3, so pay attention to that. I'll have updates on the Twitter and Instagram probably on that. I don't think that he fulfilled his goals, the checklist that he had probably in his office going into this deadline. Now, again, I'm giving the Daniel Hudson move. I'm giving the Adam Frazier move. I'm even giving the Jake Marisnick move A's because, you get a bench outfielder. He improves your outfield defense in Marisnick. You got Daniel Hudson. I thought they needed another reliever because I don't trust Emilio Pagan in a 7, 8, 9 inning scenario, and they got that. A. They got Adam Frazier, extends the lineup. He's another Jake Cronenworth that can only help the Padres lineup. That's an A. But where my grade for the Padres drops down a whole level to a B, I'm not giving it a B+, I'm not giving it a B-, just a B, is because they did not get starting pitching. That was the real need that they needed to get. I think that was obvious. I think that Preller knew it. I think everyone knew it. I think the Nats knew it. That's why they wanted to keep raising the price. I think that everyone around, I think the Twins knew it. The Rangers obviously knew it, not giving Preller Kyle Gibson. They probably kept hiring the price for him. Jose Barrios, I'm sure that the Blue Jays, obviously with what they had to give up, the Twins, what the Blue Jays had to give up, that's a big haul. I'm sure the Twins were like, no, we got the Blue Jays who are interested here, AJ Preller. You're going to have to blow us out of the water because we're getting Austin Martin, who's a pretty dang good player, and Simeon Woods Richardson, who's another good pitching prospect. So if you want Barrios, you're going to have to give up someone. Robert Hassel III, if that's what it is. Luis Campusano, if that's what it is. Sure, we'll let you keep Abrams, but it's going to have to be a top prospect. And props to AJ, he did not give that up. So I'm going to praise him for that. But with that said, the checklist, Scherzer, they missed out on. Rosenthal, the Nationals, they played AJ Preller. He's probably really pissed off right now. He was pissed off yesterday probably that the Nationals used him. Dano Dowd said this on MLB Network earlier today, saying if he was in the GM's shoes and another team used him, he would be pissed off, and there would be a very quick phone call going to that team. I am pretty sure that Preller is going to do that. I'm surprised that he kept dealing with the Nationals, to be honest, getting Daniel Hudson. Maybe he said, you know what, Mike Rizzo, I'm not dealing with you ever again because of what you did. You're using us. You used us just so you could go to our division rival and say, here you go. The Padres gave this offer. Give us more, just so he could go to the division, just so Scherzer and Trey Turner could go to a division rival. You used us. If I was AJ Preller, I would not talk to Mike Rizzo. I would say, whoever their assistant GM is, I would say, you know what? I'm talking to him, not you, because I'm pissed off at you. I don't respect you anymore because of what you did. I'm pretty sure that's the case. Preller's not going to say that in public, but if you had him on a lie detector test, that's probably what he would say, is that we got played by the Nationals. I don't respect Mike Rizzo because of the way he played us. He leaked info to Ken Rosenthal. The Nationals organization leaked info to him to say that the Padres were close so that the Dodgers would panic and get more. That's what probably happened. I bet that's probably what happened. Because if Preller's that deep in conversation with prospects, saying that we're going to get Scherzer and it's a deal's lined up like that, he's not just going to back out and say, you know what, I don't want to do this. No, it's because the Nationals hung up on Preller and said, hey, Dodgers, here's this offer, top it. That's what happened. So that sucks. But the checklist, Scherzer, they didn't get. Barrios was the next one they didn't get. Not mad about that, but because they would have had to overpay, but they didn't get him. Kyle Gibson, they didn't get, goes to Philadelphia. Who else? John Lester, even him, he went to the Cardinals. I thought he would have been a good addition. Danny Duffy, he didn't get them. Duffy goes to the Dodgers. So while I'm not mad at the Padres not getting Barrios because of how much they had to overpay, while I'm not mad at the Padres not getting Gibson because they probably would have had to overpay, I have to give this a B because they literally did not pitch up. They did not pick up any starting rotation help whatsoever. And that was their biggest need. There's no guarantees past Darvish and Musgrove right now. Blake Snell, your first two games are Musgrove and Darvish. Darvish game 1, Musgrove game 2 in a division series. Looks like it's going to be a wild card. So Musgrove would start game 1 and further expose the Padres rotation. Then you have Blake Snell, who gave up 7 runs to a playoff team last time out. Hasn't been consistent. He sucks on the road this year. Can't be confident in him. Chris Paddock, he's had 2 good starts, but he's been up and down. Jay Stingler wasn't confident enough to use him last year against the Dodgers in the playoffs. What's going to change there? Ryan Weathers on an innings limit. He's probably better giving the Padres shorter spurts and piggybacking with a guy like Paddock. Lamet, he's still not even pitching yet. He's not healthy. He's not a guarantee to be healthy. That literally leaves 2 starters, Musgrove and Darvish, 2 really good starters, by the way, but 2 good starters, only 2 that are guarantees, to give you innings, providing that they're healthy. That's not good enough. Again, they didn't get Scherzer, Gibson, Duffy, Barrios, guys like that, but they had a chance to probably not even have to overpay because the Cubs were giving away. They didn't even get Joey Bart for Chris Bryant, which I was surprised by. They didn't even give up top guys. But so the Cubs were essentially like giving away their guys because they're not in it. And I really thought that the Mets got Trevor Williams. That might have been an option, but Zach Davies is still on the Chicago Cubs. I understand that his StatCast numbers are all blue, meaning below average, not great. But with that said, we saw that he throws strikes. He eats innings. That would have been a good guy to get and reacquire from the Cubs because they were literally in sell mode. They were saying, here, take everyone. This is the dollar store. Here, take everyone. Obviously not including like the Baez deal and the Rizzo deal. It seems like they got back good guys there. Especially Pete Armstrong. I love him. But they were giving away everyone. So I think Zach Davies was a good option to get, and that didn't happen. Michael Pineda didn't happen. I'm sorry. You can't convince me that you would have had to overpay for him when I didn't see any national reporter, any beat writer saying that there's a lot of interest on Pineda. Same with Kenta Maeda. The Twins were taking offers, according to John Heyman earlier today, and nothing happened after that. I think Pineda, Maeda, and Zach Davies, those were three options that the Padres could have got, while other teams were focused on Barrios and Scherzer and Gibson and Kennedy and Trevor Williams and guys like that. I think the Padres should have gotten one of those three guys to at least tell fans, at least have AJ Preller be able to speak to reporters on Zoom and tell fans today we at least got one starter to pitch in a game 3 or 4 in a division series after Darvish pitched in game 1 of that one game playoff of a wild card game, which is what the Padres are set up to do right now. And it sucks even more while I'm giving them a B. Part of that is because of the environment in the division as well. What other teams did. Did the Padres get better? Yes. They got an all-star in Adam Frazier. I love Adam Frazier. I love him. Love Jake Cronenworth. They're like the same player. Love him. I like Daniel Hudson. I like that move. Career year. Again, big 3 in the rotation now. Pagan hasn't stepped up. Kella with Tommy John. They needed that third guy. They got him. A's on those moves. But did they get better in the position that they needed it most? The position that they needed it most was starting pitching, and they didn't get better. They didn't even do anything. That's what's disappointing about this. And it hurts more that the Padres were second place to Max Scherzer, a Hall of Famer, who would have, if they didn't even get Frazier, they didn't get Marisnick, they didn't get anyone. They didn't get Hudson even because they had Matt Strom coming back. I would have been fine if they just got Max Scherzer because starting rotation was the biggest need, and they didn't do it. And he went to the Dodgers, and Trey Turner went to the Dodgers. So the Dodgers got infinitely better. They pick up Danny Duffy for September. I know he's hurt right now, but they pick up him. They got better. They got more better, I think, in areas that they needed to get. See, they didn't need Trey Turner, right? I know Corey Seager's had health issues and all that, but they didn't need Trey Turner. But they needed starting pitching. They got that with Danny Duffy and Max Scherzer. The Giants, they improved. They got better as well. Their needs, they needed positional versatility, whether that's the outfield, with the weaker outfield that they have, or a guy that can fill in the infield at times. They got that with Chris Bryant. Big names, the Dodgers, the Giants, 2 teams that are ahead of the Padres. They did those moves to get more better than the Padres in areas of most need, if that makes sense. Again, the Padres got better, the same that the Dodgers and Giants got better. But the Giants and Dodgers, I feel like they got better in the number 1 position of need that they needed to get better in, while the Padres, I don't believe they did that. So that's why I have to give it a B. I'm sure some Padre fans would want to have it be a C or even an F, which I totally disagree with, because those fans that give it a C or an F, they're just going to they're just not looking at the Padres getting bullpen help, depth help off the bench with Marisnick, getting an all-star to play multiple positions in Frazier. They're just looking at, we were close to getting Scherzer and the Dodgers got him. That's pretty much, and they didn't pick up any starting pitching. That's where you would get those Padre fans that are giving C's or F's because they didn't get any starting pitching. And I'm with you, they didn't get any starting pitching, but in terms of the full picture, you have to look at the full picture of the Padres deadline, including all the way back to last Sunday with the Frazier edition. The Padres got better, so I have to give them a B. When they acquire an all-star, they acquire the guy that got the last out in the 2019 World Series, who's having his best year of his career and is now a big 3 in the bullpen with Melancon and Pomerantz. You have to give it a B. But they did not get the biggest position of need, and that was the rotation. When there was opportunity with Michael Pineda, Kenta Maeda, and Zach Davies, I thought, even though they missed out on Max Scherzer, even though they missed out on Jose Barrios, even though they missed out on Kyle Gibson, the big 3 there, even though John Gray didn't want to come here and the Rockies just decided to keep hold of him, they didn't upgrade in the biggest position of need. So we'll see what Preller says at 3:00 about the Padres, how they missed out on Scherzer, what the heck happened there. He's not going to smash Mike Rizzo in the Nats organization, but I would have if because that would piss me off to no end if you used my players, my deal, shopping my players essentially to my division rival just so you could get a better return. And if the Padres weren't even given an opportunity to make a better move, and the Nats just saw the Dodgers offer and said, "All right, AJ, sorry, we have a deal now. We have a better deal. Sorry," and hung up. That's messed up. So again, I give it a B because they improved the team, just not in the biggest area of need that I thought. While the Giants and Dodgers, the teams ahead of them, the Brewers improved where they needed to as well, just in the National League. Other teams ahead of the Padres improved in their biggest area of need that they needed to do. So again, Frazier, Marisnick, Hudson is the Padres deadline returns. So there's that. All right, this has been episode 48 of the Talking Friars podcast. I'm Ben Fadden. We'll have a series recap on Sunday, maybe more reaction if Preller says something that's big news worthy. We'll keep you posted on Instagram and Twitter. But until next time, let's go Padres.